Good evening, everybody. Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich here at WCNC in our live impact weather studio tonight. We'll call it live impact weather studio since we're doing weather. Live impact weather tonight. We're talking about finally maybe an end to rain. It's been a crazy 3-day stretch of rain. For some folks, it's been 4 days of rain, but really the past 48 hours, the most rain we've seen in a calendar day and a 2-day period the entire year so far. So this was a real soaker. We needed the rain, just didn't need it all at once, and we saw that flooding yesterday. So let's start with taking a look at the radar right now, because for the first time in a couple days, I don't have a lot to show you out there. There are some sprinkles, and I can tell you there's sprinkles for sure, because we can look at our Lylesville camera, which I might show you here in a minute. There are some showers falling out in Lylesville. And just so you know where Lylesville is, for folks that aren't familiar with our area, beautiful eastern Anson County, there it is, east of Wadesboro, before you get to the PD River going east into Richmond County. You see the sprinkles there? Let me bring up our quad cam. We'll show you the 4 cameras that we have pulled up right now across our area. And look at Anson County. The camera is completely covered in light drizzle and mist. Monroe, Lake Norman, and Dallas on our Mr. Sparky camera network showing just clouds and actually no rainfall currently falling in those areas. So still gray and cool out there, but we don't have the rain that is falling out to the east. Now today, we had heavy rain this morning. Many of you woke up to it. We were a little concerned. That's why we were alert for flooding. But the real issues today were up in the Raleigh area. They had several flood warnings, some water rescues ongoing up there. Some typical issues they have right around the mall there, the Crabtree Mall area. That seems to flood all the time. But today was definitely a more active day for areas in the Triangle and points east. I'm going to show you the warnings that are currently in effect. We'll pull the radar up, but you can still see the 2 flash flood warnings for Wake and Chatham County until 7 p.m. and flood warnings for Franklin, Johnston, Nash, and parts of Wake County until 7:30. Those had the considerable tag in the warning, which meant a lot of people's phones were going off in the Raleigh area today because that activates the WIA, or the Wireless Emergency Alerts, on your mobile device. So that was what was happening up there today. But let's look back at the last 48 hours. And again, I'll preface this with some of the sites aren't recording, like Monroe all of a sudden just went out today. Concord, you didn't get 0. I get complaints about this all the time. The Concord rain gauge is actually operated by the airport, not by the National Weather Service, so they can't really go do anything. So if you got any connections out at the Concord Airport, we'd love to get that rain gauge maintenance worked on, because it's an AWOS, not an ASOS, which is not operated by the Weather Service, and the FAA has to really kind of tell the local airport to fix it. But there's been rain in Concord, needless to say. But look at Charlotte. That's a 48-hour total, 3.68 inches of rain. That was almost our deficit for the year. We needed to get that rain. Gastonia, 3.58. And look at Rock Hill, almost 6 inches of rain. There were parts of York County that saw 6 inches of rain in the past 2 days. Chester, a whole lot. And if Monroe would plot, it would be well over 3 inches as well. But look at Raleigh today. You could see why Raleigh ended up with so much flood issues. They had over 3.5 inches of rain, and that was at the airport, which didn't even get the bulk of it. It was more the south side, kind of like here in Charlotte, where some parts on the south side of town ended up with 6 or 7 inches of rain over the past 48 hours. So let's take a look at the forecast for tonight, because it will be cool again. Temperatures are going to be falling back into the 60s. After we briefly got into the 70s today, it was technically warmer than yesterday when we had that crazy high of 69, 21 degrees below normal. So today, while it was warmer, it's still well below normal. The normal high is 90. And tonight, I can't rule out mist or drizzle. This is not going to be like heavy downpours, but kind of the typical foggy, drizzly, misty kind of setup as we go into the overnight hours. And just an area-wide view of those temperatures. You could see tonight, mid-60s, mostly cloudy. Probably some fog, likely forming low clouds. With all this moisture in the ground, it doesn't take a whole lot at night for us to cool down and start getting fog and low cloud formation. So we'll probably see that every morning for the next couple, even as we start to dry out. The mornings will be particularly kind of soupy. Tomorrow, we're heading back towards 80 possibly. But notice the northeast wind. Because of that northeast wind, even with sunshine, it'll be a real struggle to get too warm. Once the wind shifts to the south-southeast, that's when we start to see things kind of warm up here in the Carolinas. So the big impacts over the next couple of days, we're finally not talking about flood risk. We're talking about the potential for some sunshine, drying out, warmer air returning, and yes, drier conditions into the weekend. I put the lawnmower there because with all the rain this week, people will finally get a chance to mow their lawn for the first time in a while as things start to grow after this really hot, dry period we came out of, and now we're in this wet, cool period, which is going to spur a lot of lawns to start growing pretty heavily. So my son's got a lawn mowing business. He's going to be very active this weekend, I can tell you that. He'll be mowing a lot of lawns. Futurecast shows things kind of clearing out. Northeast winds with sunshine tomorrow. There will be a 20% chance. It's one of those situations where I'm not going to say there's no chance of rain, but it's pretty low right now, less than 20%. Probably any rain we do see will be that mist or drizzle with the low clouds. But look at Friday, Saturday. That's abundant sunshine in the afternoons, and that means a warming trend going into the upcoming weekend. In fact, we'll likely see some low and mid 80s by the weekend. We're going to talk with Tim about this as well, but the tropics, a lot of things going on out there. We've got Dexter, we've got this tropical wave that's got a 60% chance of development. And remember the thing we were talking about on the coast, we started hinting at this yesterday, that is probably was shifting offshore and becoming less of a threat. Well, not only is that happening, but the chance of development has gone down to 30%. So if you're going to the beach this weekend, I'm even more optimistic that you're going to be just fine. In fact, that thing could probably stay offshore and not do much of anything at all. So you can actually see a little swirl of clouds there. It might briefly try to do a head fake on us, try to head towards the coast and then go back out to sea. So if you see that happen, don't be shocked if it starts drifting northwest before it takes that turn off to the north and east. But right now, we're not overly concerned with that because it looks like it would fall apart for the most part and then drift away. Rain chances do stay pretty low, as I mentioned, 20% or less. By Monday, Tuesday, they could go back up, and I'm going to show you why. This is our long-range futurecast, and a couple things to note here. I'll pause it here as we go into Thursday, but I'm going to pause it again on Saturday. So I'm going to grab my cursor so we can kind of highlight a couple of things. So if there is a tropical low or some kind of low, it looks like it's out here. But notice what's happening down over Florida and the Gulf Coast. There's another little low that tries to form down there and maybe come up to the northeast. So that could actually induce some rain early next week. And you'll see this on really starting late Sunday, but probably Monday, Tuesday. The flow comes out of the south, and that means kind of more humidity, warmer temperatures, but also the chance of rain. And unlike the rain we just had, which is northeast winds and rain, this will be southerly winds and rain. And that usually means kind of soupy weather. It also looks like, looking long range, we're going to go back above normal. And I figured this was going to happen. We're not going to be done with summer. The average high right now is 90, but by this time frame, it actually will be back down to 89. So you're probably looking at some low and mid 90s. Not crazy hot, especially compared to what we just saw. But for this time of the year, it will be slightly above average. So the 10-day forecast, big game on Friday night. Panthers got their first preseason game, and it's not often in August for a preseason game. I can tell you it's actually going to be nice. Not super hot. We're not worried about thunderstorms, which is always another issue. We've seen some preseason games where there's been deluges at the bank, and it's been just crazy. So actually pretty decent weather. We'll go 10 days into the future, and we'll go way out into next week because I want to show you that the trend is, yeah, temperatures are probably going to get back into the upper 80s, maybe even the low 90s as we go to Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of next week. That's not crazy hot, but compared to what we just had, it's going to feel warm, and it is just slightly above normal. And right now, if you had to ask me today, and I'll ask Tim the same question here momentarily, no threat from tropical systems likely in the next 5 to 7 days, maybe even 10-day period. But beyond there probably will be something we'll be keeping an eye on, and that's what we'll be talking about with Tim coming up next. So here's a look at your forecast locally. We'll bring in Tim Buckley from Greensboro. We're going to talk a lot about tropics today. We got an update from Colorado State, and we might talk about fall foliage for everybody kind of pining for the fall season.